Welcome back to another fantasy video with me, JD. You're joining me for the round 2 review. Yay, let's go. Um, what will we cover this video? Well, I'll quickly talk through my team and where it's at, scores, all that type of stuff. We'll talk some trade options and routes and do some vice captain captaincy, and that'll be it. So, I scored an 18-11, which I thought was a pretty good score, and I had a feeling would move me up in overall rank, but it didn't. I think I dropped, I don't know what it was, a couple of thousand spots, something like that, which isn't the end of the world. I mean, looking at my team and what scores I had on field, really, I didn't have too many bad ones. I just had a ton around this like low 70s range between the rookies and some of the underperformers like Jackson. So I didn't really have like some of those terrible scores that people dropped, like maybe like a Hoare on field or a Caulfield on field or anything like that. But I also missed, some of those really big scores like the Dawson, Sarong, Green types this week, which hurts because in best 18, you really want those big ceiling scores if you're going to post a really strong round result. And I just didn't have them. So look, that's okay. Overall, I think the team's still in a good spot. Money is going up and all that. The big problem for the week was really around little Nicky Daicos. Sorry, the dog's in the background just chewing on some plastic. I've got no idea why. Get out of there, Bella. So, Nicky Daicos, a 60. Absolutely gutting stuff. If this was to happen, it was meant to happen when tagged against Brisbane. Not in an untagged game against the Saints where he was able to run free in the midfield. So, yeah, Collingwood's not in a good spot, and they did not use Daicos well that game at all. He didn't look particularly good himself. So, combination of things there. The interesting news is today we've heard that he's been training at half back in the match sim, kind of swapping with Pendlebury, which should be a good thing because I think they've probably spotted and recognised that they haven't been using him as much as they should have. And hopefully they'll get back to using him at his best this week. I'm actually curious to see if we hear any more talk about him bouncing back after last week, or if he's carrying anything. So, yeah, obviously someone that people will be considering trading this week. All right, and then who else we got in defence? I mean, Whitfield's been great. Sheasel's been great. These are two very highly owned options. Whitfield we obviously missed this week with the 102. Sheasel, yeah, I mean, like, if you don't have him, I think he's worthwhile jumping onto. And then, yeah, Young's the other real underperformer in defence here. So one to consider training. I think his break-even's around 105. I mean, I think Crows have been, like, teams have been able to score on them. They are one of the heaviest stoppage teams, and Young has been racking up the tackle numbers. So if there's lots of in and under tackle type stuff, I could see him posting a good score this week, but honestly, a bit worried about him as a pick. We'll get Williams back. Howes has been good as a rookie. Hoare has 1 week now where May is out, and Lever might be a little bit underdone. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like he's not long for our teams either. I don't know if he's actually going to make too much money before he needs to be traded out. And Yo's been very good. Been happy with Yo. In the midfield, Butters was great. Like, just unfortunate here that he only had the 12 points in the final quarter. I think it was 12 points or something like that. 17. It wasn't much. Could have been much bigger, but yeah, he had some calf cramping and they obviously took a conservative route with him. So a 117 captaincy, but I really feel like I was kind of robbed of a 130 type score here. Steele's been good. LDU's been underperformer with sub tons, but they're right at what he's priced at these last couple of weeks. So hopefully some of those bigger 130 games that we know he can produce will come soon. Otherwise, this pick is going to fall quite behind others that have started like Crouch, Sarong, Green, these types. Nick Martin had a good bounce back week, so they're going to be holding him and hoping to move him to defense sooner rather than later. The 4 rookies on field, all great. I think, part of the reason for fielding all 4 is they all had good matchups. I think Sharp's the one that has a little bit of a worse matchup this week. In the Crows, I'm not sure how much outside ball he's going to get. So that's the one that I'd probably be most interested in benching, but he could still have a good game, being, the role that he's playing and being mature age. Grundy is someone that I'll be looking probably to get off after the West Coast game, but I don't think I need to trade him now, even though I could. Like, I could get rid of him and move... Oh, wait, no, I don't have Jackson in this format. I couldn't do that. So, yeah, but I think I'm looking at moving him maybe to Marshall after the West Coast game. Cherry's been great. Happy with that. I mean, not having Gorn is a bit of a problem, but no one, I think, really started Gorn and Cherry, which I think would have been the ideal ruck setup. And then the forward line, Heaney's been great. Fisher had a bounce back game, which is nice. Hopefully can string a couple more of those together and not be a forced trade early on. Billings followed up his 140 with a half of that with a 70. I think he's still got a relatively low break even and could continue to make money, but a harder matchup this week in Port. weighing on my mind. Fife could have put up another like 80 or something and really had his cast gen going, but got subbed in the last quarter with back tightness. It sounds like he'll be playing this week, and they just did it to manage him over a shorter break period. So hopefully get the full game out of him this week. And then Jordan saved his score late, but was otherwise all right. I think he's got probably the lowest break even of these three, so the safest for now. And then Sexton got moved forward, which resulted in him putting up a poor score. Definitely one that's on the chopping block with the bye this week. And of the rookies, like nothing really to talk about. These are all decent ones. I maybe should have traded Clark over Lazaro, to be honest. But with Lazaro being subbed, he may not get a game this week. And Jai Clark's now got the extra job security with Dangerfield out for the next couple with hammy tightness. And as you can see, the trades last week were Billings in for Wines. I mean, this was probably slightly better than Bonner just because of where they were on the field, but not exactly by much. And Bonner even made more cash, to be honest. Yeah, he made 30k rather than what it was at 23 or something. Oh, no. It was, okay, Jack Billings made slightly more, 2k extra. Yeah, let's go. Huge. And then, yeah, Dempsey in for Lazaro. So Dempsey obviously made some good money and I think looks pretty good as well. So, yeah, happy with that. Cadman, big win there. So yeah, really, I think the ones that went off this week were Harvey Thomas, who's now start moving to this week's team look. Yeah, Harvey Thomas, who it will be like a big target for next week with 267k, just because he put up 100. You can see his other scores are quite poor there at 18 and a 35 before the 100 against the West Coast. And these matchups aren't necessarily the easiest, but he should just have a pretty easy time making money with that 100 in the rolling average. And who else was I going to talk about? Oh, Finn McRae might be one to watch as well. It sounds like they need to make some changes to that Pies midfield after a pretty disastrous start. So he's come on as the sub in both those two games, which has tanked his score a little bit. We should get a full look on the Thursday game this week to see how he's going and whether or not he is someone that we need to bring into our sides as well. So, what do we do with trades this week? I think for those that have like a Whitfield, Green, etc., Flanders, I wouldn't be moving on from these guys. Maybe if you had all three, I could possibly see a reason to, if you didn't have other underperformers. But I'd rather hold them as they all look like keepers. So yeah, wouldn't be trading those. Daicos is one I'm definitely considering trading just because he's got a potential tag in 2 weeks, then the bye, and he's already going to be losing cash with the 60. With that said, if he's playing at halfback, lines have been pretty susceptible over the first 2 weeks and have been looking pretty poor there themselves. And if they're going back to the game plan of feed Daicos, he could well and truly hit his break even, which is, I don't know, I think it's like 140. Like, he could do that and is a good vice captain option this week. So I'm not sure if I want to trade him. Young is another one I could potentially trade as well. In the midfield, no one here I'm really looking to get off yet. In the ruck line, Grundy, but I think I'll wait until that West Coast matchup's done. And in the forward line, no one is really ready to get off, but I think Sexton is potential and maybe even jumping off one of these mid-prices as early as possible as well. In terms of targets this week, I think there's two clear ones, which is Massimo D'Ambrosio and Tom Powell. I think they're the two obvious ones. Like Windhager is probably the only other consideration in defense, especially for those who already have D'Ambrosio, just because Crouch is now out for 6 to 8 weeks. We should play second fiddle behind Steele in that defensive line. So those are probably the ones I like. In terms of rookies, I think if you've missed some of these bigger players, I don't know if it's too late to go on them now. You'd have to ask someone who's been playing the game longer than me if he can still jump to one of these 400k guys. Like maybe Roberts is already too overpriced now. I don't know, but yeah, like I mean, his matchups next to a Richmond and West Coast, you probably still want him. That's tough. Yeah, so because I think we're starting to get to the point where doing rookie fix-ups just doesn't make as much sense. You can get more points out of doing other things. So if I want to bring in Massimo, I think I either trade down Daicos, Young, and not Whitfield to him. Or I try and bring him in as a 7th defender and move him up. And then the other one, which I think is really easy with my cash in bank, is just Sexton out for Powell. So let's do that one. Let's lock in trade 1. Sexton out for Powell. Easy as you like. For those that don't know about Tom Powell, I started him last year and unfortunately didn't get the role that I was hoping for. They had too much Tom Phillips in the side, which is a bit of a pain. But he is a gun, or it's where's my sort button gone? Oh, it's missing. Sort the prices properly because I did not check if they're the right way around, and I don't want to distress the viewers like that. You know, I'm big fan of keeping them happy. So if I've got prices out of order, I apologize. Oh, I do too. Oh, shocking. I hate to see it. So yeah, should be second in the CBA rotations for North. Looked really good. Got coaches' votes from either one or both coaches on the weekend, depending on how they split with LDU. So yeah, like really strong stuff. He's just signed a 2-year extension, which you hate to see him sign the extension. Some of the hunger definitely can go away, but he should have a decent role, especially with Wardlaw still having managed time on ground and him sitting alongside both LDU and Wardlaw, who have injury history. If either of them goes out, it only further enhances his role. I think the problem that we've seen in the past is when they've brought in Phillips, they then move Power to half forward. And with Lazaro potentially getting dropped this week after a poor game, is that on the cards? I've heard Phillips is doing well in the twos. I haven't scoped it out myself. But yeah, that's my only concern with Tom Powell. Like, what do I do if Phillips is named this week? That would be scary. I hope that's not the case. And then, so yeah, then I've got how do I bring in D'Ambrosio? Because that is just cash waiting to happen. So yeah, it's either Young down, Daicos down, or I think what I might even do is just jump off Billings early. The Port matchup's hard. So I could do something like Billings out and then put Massimo in my utility slot, just like that. All right, make trade. So it leaves 100k in the bank, which is neither here nor there. How do I fix up the team this week? So Zach comes on. Whitfield's going to the bench. Or is going there. So we could loophole House. I could probably loophole Williams, right? See how he goes. Anyway, something like this. And then I need to fix this price order again. So I think the thing that's awkward here is obviously leaves me with the 7th defender. So next week I could move a Yo or a Daicos into the midfield and just bench one of the rookies, which is fine. And then in the forward line here, so obviously we're not playing Cadman. I guess there's a bit of consideration as to who I actually go in this way and what options I have to loop as well. Because I think ideally, like Dempsey's got a pretty good matchup with Hawks on Easter Monday. Harley Reid has a good matchup with the Dogs, and Darcy Wilson has a good matchup with the Dons. So ideally, I'm going to loophole two of these with Cadman. I think it's just a matter of which ones, and if I want to field someone over Sharp, who I flagged has that tough matchup, and given all three of those have nice matchups, maybe I want to bench Sharp and play the others. I mean, Optus Stadium's obviously good, though, in terms of width the ground for wingers, you'd imagine. So yeah, that's the team. Last thing for me is vice captain, captain. So if I'm holding on to Daicos, I'm kind of praying here for this big bounce back game against the Lions. So vice captaincy there makes sense to me. And then the captain could go a number of different ways this week. I'm hoping I actually don't have to use it. The ones that I see that I potentially like, I could just go back to the Butters well. D's have been, I think, all right to score on so far. You've got Steele against Essendon, which I don't know if I have enough confidence or faith in Steele, but I don't mind that one. Then you've got Heaney against the Tigers, who could also be a good captaincy. Oh, and finally, I've even got Sheasel here, who's put up 120s over the first couple of weeks against the Blues. Might be a little bit tougher, but that's the last option there. Yep. So that would be the team, and then I guess you've always got to keep a bit of an eye to next week as well, which is probably why I started talking about Harvey Thomas, because I think Thomas is probably the downgrade option that makes sense next week. 267k. I can jump off, I don't know, maybe one or two of these mid prices and go up to someone like a Flanders or a Tom Green or something like that next week coming off the bye, and that'll definitely be an interesting option. And then, yeah, the week after, I'll then set up to probably get off Grundy, but, potentially Jordan coming into their buys as well. So that's the team, that's the trade targets, that's where we're sitting at. It's in an okay spot. We'll have to see how the rest of the buys go. I think the more heavy GNR teams are definitely going to outperform my more value-based team, but then we'll have to see once we get back to best 22. If I've got less rookies on the field, that's where I can hopefully really make some ground up from round 7 through to that first set of buys, and hopefully be in a good set to trade strong through the buys as well. So if you've got questions about fantasy, please hit me up below. I can tick off trades for you if you like. I can answer any questions. Or if you see better trades for my seed, if you think if you see better trades for my side. If you think Billings is a must hold and I should be getting rid of Young or something like that instead, please let me know. Actually, Young is one that could go next week, isn't it, to free up that extra defender spot, especially if he has another bad game. I feel like he's on his absolute last chance, old Hayden. Despite the goodbye, like another bad game here, I think we're done with him, because if he can't score against the highest stoppage side in the comp, then I think I just lose all hope in Young at that point, and he potentially becomes a pathway to a green or something like that next week, which I would be completely happy with. Although green's already way too expensive in this format now, isn't he? I don't normally pay up for guys this expensive this early on, despite how well he has been playing to start the year, and the matchup does get a little bit harder. So maybe it wouldn't be a green, maybe it's old Flanders to make sure I'm not fielding a forward rookie anymore. Anyway, those are the thoughts and considerations. Hope you're having a good week, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.